It's really important there's a range of treatments available because no one treatment is going to be right for all people all of the time. People need some choice, some variety. Sometimes one medication might be right, sometimes another medication might be right. So it's really important there's some flexibility.
A lot of my choices with maintenance programs has been around trying to maintain life and trying to continue work without getting sick and all the things that come with the ups and downs of opiate use.
As a person with a lived experience of drugs, in a small country town, the stigma was great, you know. You didn't have many choices and there was no awareness about what was available.
With drug use, we don't get to make many choices because it's illegal. One of the choices I do get to make, like who I buy it from or when I use it, but so many other things are dictated by the law and I like to be able to make my own decisions and my own choices. And the same with pharmacotherapy, like it serves a great purpose for a lot of people.
Pharmacotherapy plays a really important role for those people and it actually keeps people safe in a number of ways. So it helps people choose to use drugs in a way that might be safer, so they may not be as susceptible to overdose. They may not be in a situation where they feel like they need to share syringes, so they are less likely to get HIV or hepatitis C. I've been on methadone off and on for 15 years and I choose methadone because it allows me to make choices about other drugs and that's my choice.
About 35 years I think I've been on methadone and I think it's important that they let me stay on it because I think it'd do a lot of harm if they took me off it and put me on something else. It's big to people, you know, you've got to have a choice because some things work for some people, others work for others.
I've been on methadone 12 years, I got off it once and then got back on it. It was my choice and it still is my choice, but I want off it eventually.
Long-acting injectable bupe is something that's become available over the past couple of years and it's been quite exciting for those of us involved in this treatment area because it is something new. So the injectable buprenorphine remains buprenorphine, it's still the same, but the format in which it's given offers some flexibility for people.
It was around about a year ago that I decided that I wanted to try again to stop using and to try to come off methadone. I've been on depot bupe for 5 months now and it's given me a taste of freedom that I haven't felt for a long time.
In rural areas out where we are, there's no doctors out here that are prescribing, so you have to go out of town to get a prescribing doctor. So when I was on the depot bupe, the round trip was an hour and a half each way and it's about 300 kilometres round trip. So it's a full day. Fuel, waiting, driving, and then rushing back to get the school pickup. It's huge, but it's definitely worth it.
We've been brought up with the legality of it. We've been brought up with the fact that the alternative to drug use is no drug use. And that's not true either. It's just what kind of drug you choose to use, and whether it's legal or it's illegal, or whether you have access to it. I found that it was really quite therapeutic using opiates. It did good stuff for me. It made me functional. I didn't stop for 3 days to have a migraine. I stopped for 2 hours.
The main reason I got on the Suboxone is because I was on 40 to 60 tablets of codeine a day. Eventually I took so much that I was overdosing every 2 or 3 days, you know. But with the Suboxone, I'm not ashamed of it. I take it whenever I want, you know. If someone asks me what it is, I'll tell them.
I was still using up to around the year 2000, and that's around the time I moved on to buprenorphine, at the time now Suboxone. And I found that the bupe was really good for me. Like, I didn't really notice its effect, but it kind of just worked for me. There was a lot more liberties in terms of choice. You know, I travelled Queensland quite a lot, and on methadone it was a big endeavour organising your doses and all that sort of thing. And now I'm on a minimal regulation program where I only have to go to the pharmacy every 4 weeks. Feels like it's in the background.
If we look at what's available in the ACT prison, we're finding that more and more people aren't having the choice of choosing methadone or Suboxone and are really being pressured to go on to the new injectable buprenorphine. And so that's a major problem and an issue for us.
There are misconceptions about patients who use alcohol and other drugs, and particularly opiate medication. A lot of GPs are quite fearful that if they're the last known prescriber and someone overdoses on something, well, the coroner's going to come knocking. So that is a real barrier, I think, to getting more widespread acceptance and more treatment options for people.
It's really sadly neglected. We're less than 1% of state health budgets. If you look at alcohol, tobacco, other drugs together, it's something like 14% of the burden of disease. So it causes lots of social problems, lots of medical problems, it contributes to lots of mental health problems, but there's a tiny amount of funding. So that's what needs to change.
Community pharmacy plays a role currently by default in the provision of the program, and some pharmacies run that really well and some don't run it so well. To ensure I don't judge and I don't discriminate is a lifelong learning process. It's important a pharmacist is able to put themselves in the other person's shoes and imagine what they feel like, what is going on in their lives, what influences and stresses are going on. I think that will give them a better and deeper understanding of where their patient is.
I believe that drug use is somebody's innate choice and a right to do what they will with their consciousness. And as long as you're not hurting anybody, then who is anybody else to tell me how to live my life?
So when we're considering choice for people who are seeking treatment for opioid use, it's really important to understand, I think, that for many people who have been using for 10, 20 years sometimes, they've built up preferences. And so when we're talking about undertaking or engaging in treatment, especially opioid substitution treatment, it's important to understand that people have preferences and need to be able to have a treatment that actually works for them.